Hello, good morning, good evening, good night, dear listeners, and welcome once again to Saving for Skaven, the Fluff and Hammer mini-cast that'll hold you by the hand and take you right up to the release of AOS 4.0, or 4th edition, or whatever they're calling it. And in today's news, the oldest bottle of wine in the world remains unopened since the 4th century. And I'm not saying that if you drank that, your stomach would hurt, everything would turn black, you'd wake up in a horse carriage and somebody would say, "Hey, you're finally awake." I feel it's probably worth not even saying. Carrying on, though, with me today, as always, I'm Gruffy, and with me today are two people that I have used the oversized butterfly net to grasp and grab and pull into my gravity. My best and brightest nickname that I've ever given to anyone, it's Big Swingin' D.
I'm still not sure what I did to deserve that.
Be a Big Swingin' D. Take from that what you will. Yeah. Maybe he is. Maybe you are. Maybe you have. Maybe you draw. Who knows?
For the listeners, I'd like to point out, me and Adam have never met face to face. So that makes it even more bizarre.
As far as you know.
Oh yeah, good point.
Maybe the D stands for doggin. Anyhow, and of course with us is... Oh my God. I'm going to warn you all now, I'm feeling a bit punchy today. And with us, of course, is the master of quiet stoicism. It's 88M.
I'd like to be known as gently wafting A. It's either that or I could just, start with, "Hey everybody, and welcome to 40 Facts about the Stormcast."
1, they are called
1,
Stormcast.
2, they are made by a company called Wayne's Workshop.
Wayne's Workshop is going to be my next RPG character. It'll be the greatest character I've ever played since Wombat Sex Table.
There you go.
Which is pronounced sextable. Thank you very much. God, that's gone back a while. He was a character that used to run raid taverns and things with a horse-drawn cart. Anyhow, today we're going to talk a little bit about some AOS. As I say, we are getting up to the release of Age of Sigmar, so this minicast is going to go through the little bits of information as they drib and drab directly into your ears. And today we're going to talk about some Eldritch manifestations. They used to be called the Endless Spells. Now they are, well, troops, for want of a better term. It's a bit of a strange change here, so how I understand this from reading it, no longer do the endless spells appear, or they have to be summoned, or anything like that. They now just kind of happen. They're now just in your army.
Yeah, you just kind of like, if you have access to the lore that they're part of, you can just buy them like any other unit,
and
they affect everything else. Although apparently some of them are not. They don't take. You can't order them around or anything because, well, they're spells.
Yeah.
So they don't work quite like troops. But looking at some of the war scrolls they put out, they sound properly wacky, which is great.
Yeah, looking at the Quicksilver Sword, dancing blades, cantrips and other eldritch barriers cannot save one from the keen-edged blades of this manifestation. Effect: ward rolls cannot be made for damage points inflicted by this manifestation's attacks.
And bear in mind, it has 12 attacks, hitting on freeze, wounding on freeze, and they have the ability crit brackets mortal, which I'm assuming means if you roll a 6...
Yeah, it's a mortal wound.
Yeah.
Which you cannot save. It's like, Jesus.
And that's also that moves 8, has a health of 6, a 5+ save, and a 6+ ward save. Now, I would happily take one of these in any army just for the laughs.
What I want to know is there a percentage of these things that you can take? Because
what they've said is they've been grouped into thematic laws.
Yes.
And you can pick one of these alongside your spell lore and your prayer lore with building your army.
Yeah.
And some factions have their own unique manifestations.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got like Forbidden Power is for horror gas. It's all the undead stuff, basically.
Yeah.
So the Shards of Valgol, Laukon, the Soul Seeker, which I'm assuming is going to be probably at least the undead get access to that.
Yeah,
You got the morbid conjuration, which is purple son of Shaish,
yes.
the grave tide and the soul snare shackles and the maelstrom. And honestly, these just look like being a lot of fun as a way to include it, because you can't take everything. You've got to pick one to lock into.
Well, what I'm thinking here is 1 orc shaman, 17 Ravanax gnashing jaws.
Adam, have you been playing Pac-Man?
Yes, but it's got nothing to do with this.
They do though. They do have, and this is from an outsider. They do look like other computer game characters, or they look like Pokemon.
There is a bit of that,
They
yeah.
do. But the thing I was going to ask is, so obviously, having not played AOS myself, when you set up any form of skirmish that will involve these properties, do you normally have to state, say it's a card or whatever, do you have to state what you have in reserve to the opposing player at the start of the game?
Depending.
Right. Because with these, if you're using these as part of your army, surely you have to have them there. And so the opposing player will know what you have. It's just how you use it. Or do you have almost the magical equivalent of a magazine, and you can just pick one randomly, and so they still don't. The opposing player won't exactly know what they're facing.
Well, how I'm reading this is they're set up as normal at the beginning of the game,
Okay.
so you can see it as it there. Because nowhere does it say anything about summoning. So you've got a bit here. All manifestations. Models can move through a manifestation but cannot end a move on them. Units can finish a charge move within half an inch of them and can be picked as the target for an enemy's abilities like shoot or fight. Can be damaged or destroyed but don't count as destroyed units for battle tactics or abilities. Can only use core abilities or abilities on their war scroll. They cannot use commands or be affected by friendly abilities unless they specifically affect manifestations. Cannot contest or control objectives. Then there's rules for moving manifestations, which is you have to set them up 9 inches away. What?
Oh, it does say they can be summoned, so you have to set up 9 inches away from them.
Right, okay. It's typically cannot be set up within 9 inches of enemy units when summoned and can't move in the movement phase. So they are summoned, right?
We just haven't seen the summoning rules yet, which is interesting.
Yeah, which means that that's going to be its own thing. Okay.
But it looks like we get stuff like the faction terrain features are coming back as well.
Yes.
Which is fun.
At last, I love faction terrain. It's so much fun. Yeah, there's something about the idea of a load of fire slayers, little naked dwarf people, just building a magmic fire battle forge and just going, nope, we're building this right here. Do you not want to put it inside? No, we're putting it outside, and that way we can all get massive amounts of power from it. But it's a forge. No, it stays outside. What if it rains? Shut up.
And the Sylvaneth with the tree song and their Awakened Wildwoods has probably come up with the best way of implementing the old wood elf. There's a forest. We can do what we like. Wackiness that I've seen in a long time.
Have you ever gone up against a Awakened Wildwood in a Sylvaneth army? They are now obviously new edition, so I don't know how powerful they're going to be. Reading this, I think it's still going to be pretty damn powerful. But what they can do is insane. So my Iron Jaws were up against a Sylvaneth army, and he got the Tree Lord into one Awakened Wildwood, out of another Awakened Wildwood on the other side of the battlefield, and then swooped in behind my Iron Jaws. It moved about 40 inches. Because
and this is where I mentioned that I have 3 Tree Lords all built ready to go. I just need to build the rest of my Sylvaneth army.
At some point, I really want to do a corrupted Sylvaneth army that's all been like grotted. Like they've all had the shroom light happen to them.
Ooh, that could be cool.
Yeah.
Or you could do the full Dryker's madness and just make them completely bonkers.
I just like the idea of they've gone completely insane thanks to the Loon Light, and they're now just allied with some Night Goblins. Oh, sorry, Loon Gits.
Mm.
No, that's not what they're called. What's it called?
Gloomspite
Gits. Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, and just have like a Gloomspite Sylvaneth army, which I think would be really interesting, really different.
Mm.
And the idea of just like a tree lord with a little shaman just riding around on him.
See, I had to say that's one thing I'm kind of a bit disappointed about by AOS, because when it launched, one of the ideas, as I understood it, was that greenskins were going to be more of a unaligned faction.
Yeah.
Which is why you have a scene in the first Gothic novel where he basically wakes up in a prison, in a jail cell next to an orc he's had a bar fight with
Mm-hmm.
in Hammerhall. So it's like, oh, orcs aren't completely regarded as enemies this time. They turn up and everywhere. And
they've kind of shifted away from that.
Yeah,
as time's gone on.
Which I think is a bit of a shame, because there's orcs. I always hate when orcs are regarded as being completely irredeemable. I know that Warhammer orcs are generally a bit more fun.
Yes,
but most of 40k orcs are fun. Warhammer and AOS orcs are generally a lot nastier.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot more spite behind them. But I've always liked the idea when some settings have tried. I think the Foreground guys, when they were still in the ministry business, had an orc guard captain for a city watch, and he was literally wearing paladin style armor.
That's cool.
Yeah. And who is it? There's some guys who do. It's not Mantic. There's a bunch of guys who they started off. They were doing their own version, Hard Plastic Sisters of Battle, their own versions of.
Mm-hmm.
And this was before GW put theirs out. And they're a bit on the wiry side, but they've done a fantasy range, which again, it has an orc faction that has kind of like savage orcs, but also orc paladins, and they are literally knightly paladins who guard a particular order of temples.
Yeah,
which is just such a fun idea, because it's like, oh, they're not monstrous, they're not evil, they've got shades of grey.
Well, it's just look at the Warcraft orcs,
and
exactly. As much as Warcraft is a franchise that has ate itself to death now. I don't care what anyone else says. It's dead. As far as I'm concerned, it is creatively bankrupt. But the idea of the orcs were never evil; they were corrupted and led astray. That's such a good idea. It's so good.
It is why I will still defend that movie, because it had one of the more interesting takes on orcs in popular fiction.
The Warcraft movie is very much a movie of two halves. Everything to do with the orcs is freaking fantastic. Everything to do with the humans is terrible. There is no halfway point. It's like, just get rid of the human stuff and you've got yourself a really good half-hour little project.
Which is doubly ironic when you look at the actors in that film, because it's got a really good cast.
Mm-hmm. Also, I was just pissed at Medivh. That wasn't Medivh. Medivh was great. Medivh is wonderful. Medivh is quite mad, but he isn't that kind of mad. No, did it all wrong. Angry. Anyhow,
back on point.
Well, I was going to say something. In terms of sort of rehabilitating the image of orcs within this story and this universe, surely it would be authors that would lead the charge. And I'm surprised no one has, because an orc is such a good, especially as part of a team. I know it's a bit cliche, but there's a reason that half orcs are so prevalent in things like D&D. It's because you get that they can be the big lumbering idiot, they can be the comic relief, they can be the savage, they can be a lot. So I'm surprised that authors haven't been trying to build on that kind of unaligned attitude.
Yeah, I mean, Gloomspite probably is the closest you'll get to that, which is a complete look into the Gloomspite Gits. But that is more that edges into body horror more than anything else, because that is, oh Jesus, there's bits in that book which are just nasty, but it's not, the gloom sprites themselves aren't exactly aligned with, they're not doing stuff for the good of the greenskins or for the good of the orcs. It's very much what they want and how they're trying to get what they need to survive.
Okay.
But anyhow, is there anything else anybody wants to say about the endless spells?
No, I think we covered it. It's great to see them come up with a way to use those awesome models, though.
Yes. I mean, the purple sun. The purple sun's just gorgeous.
The thing is, as well, it reminds me of so many things. I mean, it's like I just like to take a still from the film Sphere and replace the sphere with one of those. Pokemon, even our dearly beloved Event Horizon. There's so many things that you could swap that out and stick that in there, and it makes it a far more enjoyable film. But one of the most interesting things is Astartes, which I'm constantly. It's just like I can't now not see any of the orbs without a nice little skull on the side of it. And let's face it, if you win a battle and you've not had to use that, can you snap the spikes off and just have a game of football?
I mean, it's a hefty piece of plastic, so that would hurt. Yeah, that would hurt. If you want a purple veiny ball heading straight for your face, then good luck on you.
That sounds like a regular Tuesday night, so it's fun.
The D stands for dogging. Anyhow, yep. So we shall move on from there, and we will see you shortly. Bye bye.
Bye bye.